welcome back to Atypical Talk. This is a podcast where we have conversations that illuminate the intersection of faith, culture, and the common spaces of our humanity. I'm Abby.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Kenton.
Yes, for Kenton's fan base, he is back.
We have heard the cries for more Kenton.
Yes.
That's my wife.
It's like, it's LanieSchreier1 at Gmail, LanieSchreier2 at Gmail.
Right in. Keep going, babe. Keep going.
So our first question, before we get into a topic we're going to be talking about aliens, I wanted to ask, if aliens came to Earth not knowing anything about humans and life on Earth, what would you want to show them?
I don't know why, but immediately I had a silly thought that I would like to just show them a compilation of the greatest Vines from like 2007 to 2014 before Vine, which is like, we'll have to share something in the show notes because they were 6-second video clips. That's all that it was. And so you just had to do something ridiculous and funny that was like almost like on a loop at 6 seconds. Mm-hmm. It feels like early internet for me, but I've just been like, here, Mr. Martian, check this out. And this is what humans can do. This is what we're capable of. That's my silly answer. But I guess the other thing I think I would like to show them, maybe in fear and trembling and asking for their mercy, I would like to show them just how we can help each other. And in moments of disaster, how humans come in and try to help each other and alleviate suffering. So yes, there are bad things that happen and humans do bad things. But as Mr. Rogers always said, look for the helpers. And I'm like, Mr. Aliens, look, we're pretty good. Check this out, right? I'd like to show them that what we're capable of in a good way.
Okay.
Yeah, just show them Mr. Rogers.
That's really the move. Like, can you sit down and just watch all of Mr. Rogers and then show us mercy?
Yeah. I have no real answer.
You haven't pondered this for your whole life?
There are great answers. There's a great answer from a comedian that I absolutely love. Pete Holmes talks about trying to explain sleep to aliens. So if you know that clip, you know how funny it is. But he just explains that, like, we eat food, and like that makes sense. The energy from the food, then we absorb the energy, and our bodies can function. And they say, well, that's great. So what is this other thing you do? And he's like, well, sleep. We just, for no reason, regardless of the energy we've consumed, we just have to turn off, shut it down, and then come back. Yeah, which is a great answer. And then my other answer, because I just cannot understand it, is like ASMR food eating.
You gotta explain this. Like, okay,
you want me to demonstrate?
Not into the mic.
All right, I'm gonna demonstrate.
So gross.
Everybody, lean in, turn up real loud. Abby literally took her headphones off.
Abby doesn't want to throw up, so she took her headphones off.
It's just so gross. I don't know. I mean, TikTok has ruined the world probably for many reasons, but just two random weird things.
Yeah.
So like, ASMR, like eating, like people literally they eat foods into microphones.
And they like turn it up real loud so you have to hear them eat it. I don't know. I mean, everybody, likes their own thing, but I don't know what's up with that.
I can't imagine explaining
But explaining that to aliens who... Yeah.
The two things I thought of, both also not serious, but my first one is chips and salsa, because why not? I mean, they need to know.
And ranch.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, this condiment that doesn't really make sense, but
it makes it all better.
Yeah. And then also, I just want to show them like movies that we have depicted aliens in, and being like, this is what we thought of you guys, and just seeing, how accurate they feel like.
Let's not give them any ideas.
That's fair.
War of the Worlds. Okay, never mind.
I was thinking like Space Jam.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, some Monstars. We can take that. That's better than like Signs. I remember like being a great movie growing up watching where there were aliens. And it just still freaks me out to this day.
It is a little freaky.
Independence Day shaped probably much of my worldview when it comes to aliens.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Will Smith.
Yeah.
Yep. So our first article today is a NASA.gov article titled NASA's Asteroid Bennu Sample Reveals Mix of Life's Ingredients. Analysis of rock and dust samples from the asteroid Bennu delivered to Earth by NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft have revealed the presence of key molecules for life, as well as evidence of an ancient saltwater environment. The findings suggest the conditions necessary for the emergence of life were widespread across the early solar system, increasing the odds that life could have formed on other planets and moons. The Bennu samples contain traces of 11 different minerals that form as water containing dissolved salts evaporates over long periods of time. This provides evidence of an ancient brine environment well suited for the chemistry of life to take hold. Researchers also detected amino acids, nucleobases, and high abundances of ammonia, all important building blocks for life. While these compounds had been found in extraterrestrial rocks before, identifying them in a pristine sample collected in space supports the idea that objects like Bennu could have been an important source of raw ingredients for life throughout the solar system. However, some mysteries remain. The Bennu samples contained an equal mixture of left-handed and right-handed amino acids, whereas life on Earth almost exclusively uses the left-handed variety. The reason life turned left instead of right remains unknown. This is all science stuff I'm not quite sure I understand, but it's all...
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Overall, the OSIRIS-REx mission has provided major new insights into the potential for life to emerge in our solar system, though the question of why we only see life on Earth so far remains tantalizing.
Tantalizing.
Yes. So what did you guys think of this?
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That, you find the building blocks, you find these pieces of our chemistry out there in a way, right?
Yeah.
Of chemistry that we see on Earth out there. So it's pretty wild, pretty mysterious.
Yeah. It's almost like finding, ancient civilization or the remains of what could have been there and stuff. So would the existence of extraterrestrial life change your view of God? Why or why not?
Oh, I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as in immediately I think it's all hogwash. But, I feel like any kind of major discovery, life event, mind-blowing thing that happens in human history, you re-examine everything and you possibly have to open up yourself to new understandings, new interpretations, so that you can make sense of it all. Mm-hmm. I'd be lying if I would just confidently say oh no, this fits here and this is why this happens and this is what that verse was about. I don't really have all those answers, and there are questions that I would have how it would all work out. But it doesn't. My first emotion is not fear. I guess my first emotion is not despair or we got it all wrong, because I believe Jesus rose from the dead. And we've still got to handle what that means in our world. And I think that that happened, and I know the difference that it's made in my life and continues to make in my life. So, it would probably change things, and I would probably have to renegotiate or re-understand and interpret how it all works out. But, it's an interesting question. And just honestly, it's been something, especially, honestly, it feels like November, December, January, there was a lot of buzz about UFOs and drones that might have been UFOs. Yeah. And there have been some times I've been on X, formerly known as Twitter.
What?
Twitter, I don't know why I said
legitimately
X.
Called it that.
But I've been there and I've seen clips and I'm like, oh man, I wonder how they manipulated that. And it, leads you to some questions.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to me, even you take what Jesus said in John 3:16, most famous verse ever, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. The word for world is not earth, it's not globe. This is actually before there was any kind of modern scientific understanding that we were on a planet that was a spherish shape. This is way before all of that controversy. So the word world is actually the Greek word cosmos. It's actually the Greek word for the universe, if you will. So whatever comes of life beyond our world or life that used to be before our world, I hope and I think that the way I understand faith in Jesus can hold that. Those little green Martians or whatever, man. God loves them too. Who knows?
I think we're so far from discovering an advanced civilization that would have a mind to understand Jesus and God. I think we're literally trying to figure out if they're microbial organisms alive.
Yeah,
Bro,
yeah,
but what about
exactly.
Area 51, bro?
I know. I'm just saying.
what
That's what I think. I think we're just
yeah.
so far from
Yeah.
like an actual discussion about like evangelizing to another planet, basically. Which I think is probably the like scary Christian side of that. It's like, but no, I mean, I totally understand where Joel came from with his answer. I don't know that it would impact me that much. One, because I think that's the first step. If all of a sudden, an alien landed here, that would probably shake me to my core more. But, like when I read things like this,
It's a petri dish.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I don't look at it as like a challenge to believing in God or a challenge to following Jesus. I just look at it as like, oh man, there could be like a rat-like creature on a different planet. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're just picking random things. But I mean, there's just so many things that are wrapped up in that I don't know. And even if there were, I don't know how much that would change. That might make me, like look and like renegotiate with certain scripture and look deeper at like questions of like, does the word, world mean this planet or like vice versa, or the entire universe, which he is the creator of, obviously not just Earth. So like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's really hard for me to see so far that there would be some like other sentient being that would make me question
See,
that.
in X-Files, he doesn't believe.
I know.
Yeah, he's just no. I think it's interesting what you said. I just picked up on like, what difference would it make in following Jesus and following the way of Jesus? And you're like, it wouldn't really change that. There would not have to be a reality shift for you if you think that following the way of Jesus, living the values of the kingdom of God now, would that change because there's another species or another, extraterrestrial thing?
Love someone else.
You might have to just, you might have to just like widen the way that you treat people and see people and honor people. So that's an interesting idea that I'm like, whatever comes, and whatever discovery there is, whatever it looks like, do we really believe that following Jesus is not only true, but it's like the best way to live? Like it's, you won't just like have a better life, but you'll be better at doing life kind of thing, because that's how we were created to live. So it shouldn't really change the day-to-day, us being good neighbors and living with generosity and humility and honoring people. So
that's how they'll discover that through Vine.
It's Vine. That's actually what happened.
They'll know.
They'll see. Like,
They'll
look what
know.
these humans.
Yeah.
They're so.
Look at all those chickens.
Please, we've got to add that one to the show notes. Look at all those chickens. Oh, perfect. But yes, I think that's really interesting. Yeah. What do you think, Abby, about aliens and faith and all that stuff?
I think it would be a little hard at first just because, you read through the Bible and there's not any like explicit, like, I made humans on Earth and also some over here too, and so it would make me question things. But no, like you said, like you still have to keep loving your neighbor and living like we are now, and things aren't going to change in that way,
The neighborhood got way bigger.
That's all it is. Like you just said, like the reality of he doesn't explicitly talk about other planets or other civilizations and stuff, and maybe he's looking at humans as like, they're gonna have a hard enough time getting this together just between them, loving each other. They don't have to add this onto their plate right now.
Also, I didn't talk about cell phones or all these other things, cars,
internet. Yeah, where's the verse about the internet? Yes, that's good.
Well, our next article is a Fox Weather article titled "How Accurate Are Punxsutawney Phil's Groundhog Day Predictions?"
Oh man, this is everything.
Yeah.
This is actually the thing that really shapes my faith more than anything else.
This past Sunday was Groundhog's Day, where Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow, predicting 6 more weeks of winter. But how accurate are his predictions? The famous groundhog has not been very accurate in his forecasts over the years. Records show that Phil has been correct only about 30% of the time over the last 10 years, according to data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They are working hard to figure out how accurate.
I'm glad that they're really doing they're doing the work.
Yes, yep. Groundhog Day has its origins in ancient European weather lore, particularly a tradition from German settlers in Pennsylvania. The tradition is based on a German custom involving a hedgehog seeing its shadow. When German immigrants came to America, they used native groundhogs instead of hedgehogs. The current tradition in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania began in 1887 and has since become a well-known event, with the groundhog Punxsutawney Phil emerging from his den to predict the arrival of spring. The tradition has evolved into a cultural phenomenon, attracting thousands of visitors to Punxsutawney each year. So
many questions.
Yeah. I'm looking into the how it started, and I'm like, okay, I get that they used a hedgehog, but why did they do that?
Well, Sonic was busy. Sonic the Hedgehog was busy, so we had to move over to the groundhogs, I guess. And I'm sorry, there are thousands of people that go to Punxsutawney for this. Like, it's like, I don't know, probably making fun of somebody, but just thinking like, every year it's what we do as a family.
It's probably a man with a puppet at this point.
I just also love the idea for how long this has been going on. Yeah. We all act like Punxsutawney Phil is one.
Yeah, it's the same Phil.
Like, are we on Punxsutawney Phil the 57th or the 200th? It's so funny to me. And then just the reality of like, this is an actual cultural event where it breaks news every year, but it's only 30% accurate. It's just the funniest thing to me.
Yeah. I remember as a kid thinking it was something that was going to determine how what the weather was going to be like.
Punxsutawney Phil moves the finger of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those, chalk that up with like how quicksand was so, like we all were worried about quicksand.
I was so
we all
worried
needed
about
to know
quicksand.
what Punxsutawney Phil was.
What's he saying this year? Because I really want spring to happen. And to think like 30% accurate, not to insult any meteorologists, but like, I'd like to see their percentage sometimes too. I would love to see that. So maybe they're right on.
Like if you can't even tell like actual weather now with like modern technology.
Phil's not doing maybe too bad.
I mean, in baseball, he's actually doing real good.
He's batting,
batting 300. That's not bad.
That'll get you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, you do that. Yeah.
Yes, but it's a silly tradition.
Yeah.
I've seen other cities do something similar where they're branching off, and like I saw a picture of a city doing it with a jackrabbit, and the person the person was wearing like a mullet wig while they were doing it. I don't know what that had to do with anything, but
it's the way the wind blows the mullet. The party in the back. That's how you know if it blows to the west.
I'm in
6 more weeks.
I'm in. Also, what is 6 more weeks of winter? You know what I mean? It's not like all of a sudden it just starts snowing for 6 weeks.
You just don't believe in Punxsutawney Phil enough.
It was 65 degrees yesterday.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And like to think too, like how different the weather is across America.
To
where like maybe in Pennsylvania it was snowing yesterday, but it was 65 in Indiana in February. You're like, this just makes the more you think about it, this makes no sense at all.
It's literally like the Farmer's Almanac.
Hey, farmers, please.
I'm sorry.
Let's not offend them.
Canceled. Here we are. But like the bad boy predicts the entire year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd like to see their percentage too.
Yeah, exactly.
So, with the topic of Groundhog's Day, I started to think about the movie.
Bill Murray.
Yes. What day in your life would you like to relive? Not like in Groundhog's Day where you have to live it over and over and over again. Just like if you could just go back to that day.
Yeah. For me, this was really quick. I don't know why this came to me so quickly, but this is going to sound much sweeter than it actually probably is, but my wedding day. My wife's listening somewhere while doing laundry and just laughing at me thinking of this. But it's just funny looking back on my weather day.
Yeah.
It's funny looking back on my wedding day, which my wife and I just celebrated 15 years of marriage. And looking back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was such a long time ago. And I don't really remember anything. Like you have all these people around you that mean the world to you, and you just don't remember anything about that actual day at all. And you're like, man, I wish I could like go back and like be more present. And there's people that are not with us anymore. Like my dad's not with us anymore, and some other family members and things like that, where I'm like, oh man, just wish I could go back to that moment when there was no drama, whatever was going on in the world, sort of you're blocking out for that time, and it's just you and the people you love the most celebrating with you. That'd been cool. And then if I could caveat that, what day in your life would you like to relive my wedding with, but like with people I know now. Like I just have so many like friends and people that I do life with, like even you two and people I work with that like I didn't know very well. I didn't know you at all when we got married. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to have them with us too. You know what I mean? So just thinking about like reliving that and actually being more present. I think I was 22. So I was like a kid, and you're just like sort of going through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my first
definitely
answer.
black out at your
man.
like not in like a crazy way. I just mean like I agree with you, and I mean that was the first thing that came to my mind. But then I was like, I don't want to do the boring answer.
I'll take that one. I'll take that.
But no, I mean I do completely agree because you just kind of forget everything because there's just so many things happening and just emotions and all that. Mine is still a nice thing, but like. My wife and I, or even our family, have taken some just incredible trips. And I mean, honestly, we went to Hawaii not that long ago, last year in 2024. And that was just incredible. My wife and I and our son and my in-laws. And it was still, I would mark it down as the day that I, not even one particular day, so I'm cheating. I just want that whole week again, just over and over. It was just such a good time in a place that was just so incredible. Same thing when my wife and I went to like Zion National Park in Utah. It was just like an out of body experience to just see like this beauty that I just can't explain. And then there was the nature too.
Lady's gonna email
gotcha.
in more.
I'm gonna get more emails now. But no, like it just, I just connect with God through nature. So places like that, just I could relive and go see that again. Honestly, I thought Joel was 100% going to say like watching the Avengers Endgame for the first time or something like that. That was number 2, wasn't it?
That was on my list, but I'm like, that's going to make me sound like a monster that I don't love people. Yeah. But there are certain things like watching the show Lost for the first time again, watching Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, West Wing for the first time to go back. Oh my goodness. But no, that wasn't my real answer. Nerd.
I almost put a caveat like you can't say your wedding day. You can't say the day that your child was born.
I mean, I would relive that. My wife, probably.
The result of that, yes, but the day itself of having your child born. Yeah.
Mine's kind of silly and more recent, but back in October, or maybe it was the end of September, me and my family and my husband, we all went to Cedar Point for a day. And it was just so great getting to hang out with everyone and have a goofy day. And we were there until it was like midnight because it was Halloween. And so it was just so much fun getting to hang out and being scared together because we went through the haunted houses and stuff. It was just a great day. So I'm looking forward to that again this year.
Is it going to be like, you think, a tradition you guys are going
to try to do? I want to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is a cool thing when you can enjoy time with your family as an adult and you have like, I think that's just awesome. Like waiting in lines, but you know the people and you can joke and be with all day.
Still not waiting in lines.
Well, there weren't too bad of lines that day too, earlier in the day.
Yep, you should relive that day over and over again.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Our last topic today is a Relevant magazine article titled "New Christians Should Not Be Given a Microphone." The article discusses the concerning trend of influencers becoming Christians and using their platform to talk about their newfound faith before they've had time to properly learn and grow in their faith. Many of these influencers run podcasts and platforms and don't actually dive into scripture or theology. They lean heavily on feelings. Spiritual growth thrives in community. Small groups, mentors, and local church leaders provide accountability and space for questions without the pressure of performing for an audience. The internet, on the other hand, is not known for its grace. It's a place where everything you say can and will be dissected. And while some people thrive in that environment, most new believers can't handle it. None of this is to say that new believers shouldn't share their stories. Testimonies are powerful, and they're a huge part of what makes Christianity so compelling. And for the audience, it can be encouraging to know someone is on a faith journey similar to your own. But there's a difference between sharing your experience and positioning yourself as a teacher or spiritual leader. The excitement of new faith is contagious, and we don't want to dampen that. But enthusiasm without wisdom can do more harm than good. So what's your thoughts on this article?
I was of dual mind, but I think, honestly, that last line. Can you read that last line of the article again? Yeah.
The excitement of new faith is contagious, and we don't want to dampen that, but enthusiasm without wisdom can do more harm than good.
Yeah, that really struck me, to where I was thinking about, people over, the last couple of years that I've journeyed with that are new to their faith, and there is such enthusiasm, which is beautiful because their experience with God is real and it's changing them in a radical way. But I think also the article points out that there's a difference between sharing your experience and positioning yourself as a teacher or a leader. And so I think that that's the danger that I see sometimes when somebody is wanting to be like a Christian influencer, which is like so weird to say out loud, but like that is a whole thing online, where there are people that are great communicators, they're great with technology, and there is a whole realm of people online that are wanting to influence people and get kind of Christian famous, air quotes. And that's what makes me uneasy. Like, I think it'd be helpful to delineate people that are like just sharing their experience and, hey, I've got a word for you today. And I'm like, whoa, let's slow down here and make sure we don't position ourselves with authority when we're just like new to the game. I was just reading this passage in 1 Timothy earlier where Paul is writing to Timothy, a younger pastor, and he's explaining to them, he's explaining to Timothy in this church the biblical qualities of a leader in the church, or what the New Testament calls an elder. And specifically in verse 6, it says, they shouldn't be new believers so that they won't become proud and fall under the devil's spell. And looking at that, like we think elder, they have to be an old person. But like it's more like they need to have been on the journey of faith for a while, right? Yeah. And it's interesting that Paul points out pride as one of the things that a new believer could struggle with if they're charismatic, talented, good with a microphone, good with technology, and people start to say that was so good, and all of us, our ego and our pride kind of bubbles to the surface, and I think that's just it's a watchword for those who are wanting to like get up and teach and preach and share a word, if you will. But man, slow your roll. Like, let's learn together. I also really loved in the article how they talked about the necessity for all people, but new people in the Christian family to like be in community. Like, don't make the internet your group. Don't make the internet your church that are just giving you likes and, reshares and things like that. But you need like pastors who have actually journeyed longer than you and can help you understand theology in the Bible. You need people that are your peers that are following Jesus as well, that they know you and they can call you out on your bullcrap and they can help you see a different way, not to dampen you, but just to help you wisely move forward. So, I'm of dual mind because I don't want to be like, new believers, shut up because you're too young in your faith and you don't understand anything. But trust the process. Yeah. Like, faith is a journey, not a microwavable experience. And I think it can do more harm than good when somebody feels like they've got to be a leader. Put me in the front of the room with a microphone. I've got to share a story. That's always like, I'm like, whoa, slow down. That's my thought.
Yeah,
so,
I 1,000% agree.
That's no fun.
No, what he said. All right, cut. But no, like from a slightly different perspective, at least for me, just watching and just seeing, and as someone who's like on social media but not like absorbed in like that instant social media world, like you just tread carefully, but not even necessarily because of the like new Christianness or Christian influencers in general, but I think just influencers in general. And, just tread carefully because you just have to know that like, I saw a quote earlier this week or last week, I can't remember, but like that social media, like the algorithm to create, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or whoever creates the videos we see, it's fuel for like fundamentalism, and not in a way of like negative Christian things, but just in a way of like it will just reassert our own biases, and it will just continue to feed us that stuff. Because if we watch we skip it past half a second or we watch 2 seconds of it, Instagram's now going to give you another video like that. And I think the scary part of that is like if your social media is inundated with, Christian things, hey, you might feel great about that because you're like, oh, I don't get all the nastiness of these places. But like being an influencer is about gotcha and is about like drawing your attention.
Hot takes.
Yeah, hot takes. Yeah, saying things that are maybe not wrong, but maybe slightly questionable because it gets engagement. And you just have to see all of it through that lens. Honestly, like in Instagram, and like TikTok. There's one thing that I have not necessarily seen because it kind of flies in the face of logging back on and watching more. But like I said earlier, and like I'll say forever, like if following Jesus is about like going out, doing and loving and caring, that flies in the face of somebody wanting to draw you back in through going back to Instagram for this hot take on a Bible passage. You know, it's not like if there was an influencer out there, maybe there is, that's saying like, go and do, I hope I never see you comment on my page again because you're out there doing the thing. Like I want to find that person and shake their hand because like they're living and they're doing but I just think that that's just, you're not going to see that. So it's just that hot take, that clickbait, trying to get attention. Like you just have to be careful of anybody who does that. So that could be experienced Christian on influencer or somebody just sharing their testimony. But, I
think one of the things that the article talks about is that the internet is not your mentor.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't go to the internet for all of your wisdom, advice, and your constructive criticism and feedback. And one of the dangers with social media and the internet, and when you treat it that way, is that you every time you get a like, you're thinking that's reinforcing, so you need to do more of that instead of having a coffee with somebody where they can like look you in the eyes and you can have a more nuanced conversation. And I think that's one of the dangerous things with treating like the internet as that's my congregation or these are my people, because they're like, they're not real people. Like, you're so much more than just a presence on the internet, and you need more than just people liking and sharing and saying, you got it, great word, to what you're saying. So I think having an internet presence where you're trying to spread the message while you also have in real life mentors, leaders that you're doing life with, and people that can encourage you and challenge you and say, hey, roll back there. That might have sounded a little harsh. Like we need that. We all need that in real life and in our internet life. So I think it's just a caution to not go to the internet for things that only flesh and blood, real people can give you.
Yeah. The internet has never, Google has never said the thing that I admire the leaders who have led me say. The internet, I never Googled something and it say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And we're all all on this journey together.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing as like spiritual leaders we could say is just being honest and saying like, I don't know, but hey, we're on this journey together. Let's find out. Yeah. And you're just not going to find that. So you have to surround yourself with real people, doing this thing, walking this same journey together, and mentors.
So what would you guys say to someone who argues that these people using their internet presence to talk about their faith is simply helping more people get saved?
I think my first response would be it could get somebody, these videos could get somebody to make some kind of decision, yes, but seeing somebody have a moral failure or this video, teach something that is incorrect later that maybe makes somebody walk away. I don't think we look at the collateral damage sometimes of people in this world that are just interested in having a platform and Christian influencing. So I'd be like, yeah, you can probably get somebody to make a decision one time, but I guess my understanding of the gospel and my understanding of what Jesus was doing and what he's inviting us into is so much bigger and wider than just making a one-time decision. It's about a way of life and a journey in our life of following him and partnering with him. I would argue that most of the time, like, that doesn't really like happen just through a video. And I think the downfall of a creator from a video or a destructive video or some kind of scandal with a video can actually move people farther away and get disillusioned with faith as much as it might get them to make a decision one time. So there's collateral damage we don't think of when there's not wisdom involved with this. And we shouldn't just be looking at how many views or how many shares, but like, is this content creator someone who's faithfully following Jesus and loving their neighbor 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or was there a scandal where they got a divorce and there was an affair and there was all this kind of thing? Like, people later be like, oh, so maybe God didn't speak through that video. Maybe this whole thing was just emotional manipulation. And I don't think we think about the collateral damage when there's not wisdom and careful approach to people making these things. So yeah, to get somebody saved, to make a decision one time, yeah, that could probably happen. But I think one, that's maybe not Jesus's primary message when you look into the Gospels.
Yes.
And then also, I think there's collateral damage where people get real messed up and disillusioned later because of a fall or a scandal.
Yeah. I mean, I will actually say 100%. Yeah, I think it's just, it's one step in the journey. You know, it's a massive step, obviously, and very important in saying, you know, that you choose to follow Jesus. But then, you know, following through with that, it just enhances your life more, or it, you know, brings up the life of those around you. You know, there's so much more. And I think that if that's the first step, then like, where's the follow-up for getting them connected, for getting you in community with other people? Because just as humans in general, we function better when we're together with other people, you know, religion and following Jesus aside. Like, as much as I love staying home on the couch in my PJs, I'm a better human when I am amongst other humans.
Yeah.
Or aliens.
Oh,
I don't know.
all back.
Well, that is it for this episode of Atypical Talk. If you have any topics you'd like us to talk about or questions, you can email those to atypicaltalkpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Atypical Talk Pod. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to get updates when new episodes go live. We hope that these conversations today have helped you think wider, love deeper, and partner with God to bring the up there down here in your everyday life. Thanks for listening.